Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. First off, thanks for coming. I appreciate you visiting my channel. Make sure to hit the like button before you leave today. That helps me out a lot. If you feel like contributing to Starving Artist, his efforts, there's a link up at the top to buy me a coffee. I appreciate it. People who've been doing that, thank you for that. Also, there's a link for that in the description of the video. Special thanks to those people who've been habitually watching my stuff and commenting. I really appreciate the comments, and I look forward to more comments. And I like the discussions in the comments about different aspects of silversmithing, so feel free to put your ideas down there. Today, I thought I'd do a ring, for lack of a better term, I'm going to call it a stirrup ring, is what I'm trying to say. It's sort of shaped like a stirrup in that it's got a stone set in a bezel with projecting bar sticking out to either side, and then it rests on a kind of a U-shaped ring band that I'm probably going to reticulate. So let's get started on that, and we'll see how it turns out. So here's the stone that I thought I'd use for this particular ring. Let me make sure you can see what I'm looking at here. It's actually a citrine that a lady who took my class years ago had lived in Madagascar, and she had bought this right at the mine head from one of the mines that was producing stuff like this. And it's a beautiful stone. It's pretty much not included at all, so I thought I'd make a nice pretty ring out of it. And what we're going to need for this, as always, I always get asked about this, what kind of flux I use. I use Mighty Flux from Rio Grande. I believe it used to be called Battern's self-pickling flux or something like that, but I think they bought the company. The type of solder that I use is hard silver solder, which is the 75% silver type. The materials for this ring, since that stone's a little bit deep, and I'm going to be bezel setting it in a little step bezel that I make, I'm going to use 1/4 inch bezel just to give myself some room to work with, because I don't want that point sticking out the bottom of it on the pavilion. For the little bar that's going to hold it suspended between the U-shaped piece of band, I'm going to use some of this 8-gauge half round. And inside of the bezel to create the step, I'm going to use some 18-gauge round wire. That'll create a couple little jump rings for that. And then for the band itself, I'm going to use some 18-gauge sterling silver sheet, which I will, like I said, I'll probably reticulate. So should be fun. Let's see what happens here. But first, let's make a bezel for that stone. So as always, whenever you're making a bezel for a faceted stone, if you turn it upside down, it makes it much easier. This one's kind of a cushion cut, meaning sort of a rounded square. I think this particular ring would look good with a lot of different stones. My wife is thinking it looks best with a rounded square, so I'll go with her judgment. And this stone just kind of fit that bill pretty well. I was going to do a cabochon. I think the last one that I did a little moonstone cabochon that was kind of this shape, and she kind of liked it. It's the problem with being married to someone who really likes jewelry, is they snatch your best pieces. I don't really mind, though. If you haven't had a chance, check out my website too. There's a link to it at the top of the right-hand side of the YouTube channel page. You can see some of the other stuff I've made, or purchase some of the things that you see me make on the channel here. Oh, and this bezel is 28 gauge. I have a gentleman who always calls me out for not telling what gauge at bezel I'm using, which is fair. I forget to mention that sometimes. Actually, I don't know if it's a gentleman or a lady. Honestly, it's hard to tell via YouTube. I did look at my demographics on the YouTube channel. Yeah, it's almost 50-50 men and women. It's pretty close. And the funny thing that struck me was everybody who, or almost everybody who watches is my age or older. I'm 55, and that's the biggest group of watchers I have is 55 and over. So there must be some younger people out there interested in making jewelry. I should probably get on TikTok, but I just don't. I don't really know that format very well. Just trying to kind of neaten up the shape of the bezel here before I start putting some rings in. So I was going to do this with a cabochon today because I haven't done a ring with a cabochon in a while, but I didn't have a good stone for this one other than a faceted stone, so next time I'll do something with a cab probably. But if you're going to do a bezel set faceted stone, if you've never done one before, I actually have a video that talks about it. I'll try and remember to put a link up there. But you have to create a little platform for these guys to sit on because the pavilion, or the bottom of the stone, comes to a point in order to refract the light back at you. And you can't have a flat bottom, or you could, but it'd be hard to keep it stable while you set it. And also that would prevent light from getting in through the backside, which you kind of want with a faceted stone. So if you can set it somewhere where you can get some good light from both sides, it tends to be sparklier. So, but let's go ahead and make those rings to fit inside of here. This is 18 gauge sterling silver wire, like I said. So pretty good at freehanding rings, but we'll see if I can freehand a cushion shape. That's pretty close. Like I've said many times before in these videos, I usually cut them just slightly too big because I'd rather snip it down gradually until it fits perfectly so that you don't have a gap anywhere on the bottom where these come together. It's just still a little too big, so I'll take a little bit out. It's pretty snug. That'll do though. Okay, one more. Maybe probably got to make two more. We'll see. That one's a little snug. What I'm trying to do is make sure that they're sitting flat in there, because if you have a crooked ring in there, when you go to set your stone, it's going to be sitting crooked, and so it's hard to get it to balance nicely. So, let's solder these in. Looks like I have enough solder here. centered the way it was supposed to. Okay, I'm just going to file this bottom flat. This isn't the dull one. I get a little aggressive when I'm holding on to these things sometimes. This is going to sit in there. So that should be enough. I've got it resting on the rings and the point isn't sticking out, so that should be fine. What I'll do is, before I set the stone, I'll file this down just to where it's slightly above the girdle of the stone, so I can just get a grab on the up top of the girdle. I think next, it's going to be two little projecting bars going out from each side, one from each side, I should say. I think I'm going to cut a little bit of this 8-gauge half round. Probably cut these about 3/8 to 1/2 inch. Just filing those to get those straight. See if I can get if I can flip it on its bottom side there. So basically, solder to either side of this. So I'll just pick solder it there and there, so it's got a projecting bar sticking out from either side. Okay, I still got a little bit of solder over there. Enough for this. So we got to figure out, this is going to sit kind of on top of a U-shaped band made out of sheet that I think I'm going to reticulate. And so basically, so from about here to there where my thumbs meet that that half round wire, that segment there is going to be part of the size of the ring. So if I was to mark that about kind of like that. And so that bend is going to be a U that comes up to meet that. Now the trick is to figure out how long of a piece we need. So let's say we want to make a, this is a pretty big ring, so I'm going to make it like a size 9. If I go all the way around like that, where they meet, I'm going to add about an extra 1/8 of an inch. So that would normally be the size of the band. We need to deduct the distance from here to here about. Okay. So this is about how big of a piece of sheet we need. Now I'm probably going to cut a rectangle and then I may taper it in like this afterwards. Not sure, I haven't decided yet, but either way, that's about the length we need. I want the band to be slightly wider than this, I think, so at least at the ends. Maybe a little more than that. That'll give me some room to play with if I go with that one. That looks relatively straight. I'm just going to use these, even though it puts a lot of wear and tear on them. Okay, flatten this guy back out a little bit. This doesn't matter so much other than just to make sure everything's in a straight line. Some on the ends here I might be able to just kind of want a little dip. Kind of like that. And then I want an even shallower one going from here, and I don't think any of these are long enough to do that. So have to do that kind of manually probably. So let's find the center. And I think we're going millimeters this time. 2 millimeters maybe. Okay. So that's about what I'm going to do. I hope you can see that I've got a little curve here, and then straight line to 2 millimeters in here, and then back to the corner on both sides, roughly. So now, I guess I'll saw it. It's not my favorite thing to do, but let's do it. Okay, so I'm not too good at sawing, so I think with this one I'm going to start in the middle. Okay, that's pretty good. I'll neaten this up with the file, but I'm going to reticulate it anyway, so that's probably going to mess with the shape a little bit, but we'll get to that next. never seen reticulation before, what we're going to do is we're going to gradually bring the heat up on this over and over again until it starts to actually ripple at the surface. And it has to do with the different melting temperatures of the two component metals, copper and silver, and the disparity between those. But it causes the surface to wrinkle after a while. And it's kind of a cool effect and gives a nice texture. So we'll do that. It takes a little repeat heating to get it to happen. You see it's starting to wrinkle. Kind of a nice bumpy texture there. I think that's probably good. You can keep playing with it until you get the texture that you want. You'll notice when I'm doing this, this side's a little bit wider than this side, so I'll probably have to do a little filing, or maybe use the Dremel. As you can see, it's got kind of a nice texture. So I'm going to let that clean up for a few minutes. Now these corners are a little bit sharp for like wearing. Round those out a little bit. Almost dog bone shaped, sort of. It's pretty good. I think for this one, it's because of the nature of this ring, the easiest to solder these onto the backs of those without those falling off. If I push this down into the softer pad called a magnesia block, and then I'll just mount this on top of it, and then we'll have, you know, fewer problems with it moving around on me, or those falling off, or something catastrophic like that. I think we should bend this around the mandrel here. Let's see. Seems to me I kind of curved these in a little bit. The last ones. Just a bit. take our band, I got a good solder jet on both sides now. So what I need to do then is finish filing these down. And I'll just probably use the Dremel to neaten it up, even them out, so they're all the same. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to pickle this for a while, and then I will do a little pre-polishing with the Dremel tool, and I'll probably file this down so I can just set the stone, and then we can go polish it. So I'm back, and I cleaned it up a little bit with the Dremel. I did the inside of the band and did a little bit of pre-polishing on the outside of the bezel. So now we just got to set this guy. I already filed it down to the correct height. It's sitting in there pretty good. So I'm going to probably start on the corners here. Let's do a little bit of burnishing. Slightly irregular. I think the stone is cut just slightly irregular. And there's not much I can do to conceal that. So, gonna have to just live with it, I guess. But let's give it a poke. like it's in there. Okay, I'm going to give this a polish and then I'll show you the final result. So there's the final product. I think it came out pretty nice. Not bad. It kind of looks like one of those Darth Vader's little ship, if you ever were a Star Wars fan from the top. Hadn't thought about it that way. Might have called it something different. But this is why I call it a stirrup ring. Because it kind of has that shape like that. So some people might find this uncomfortable at the top like this, but a lot of people don't. So strangely shaped rings are surprisingly comfortable. As I've found out over the years, some of like squarish rings are more comfortable than some. So you never know. Some people find one thing comfortable, so other people find another one. So, but either way, I think this one came out pretty, and someone will love it. And I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, that was the stirrup ring. I hope that you found that to be useful and enjoyable. Make sure to hit the like button before you leave. I'd love to have you subscribe to the channel. Please do share it with others if you know other people who might be interested. My channel's growing. I'm getting close to 100 videos, and I think it's pretty useful content. So I'd love to have you subscribe. And like I said before, if you want to make a small donation to my cause, it helps out. It makes the efforts I'm putting into this more worthwhile. So thanks for that in advance. I appreciate you watching. Thanks for coming today. Happy silversmithing. Take care.